The invitation arrived on November 28th, a cream-colored envelope with my parents' estate embossed in gold at the corner. I was in my home office in Boston, reviewing quarterly reports for Right Tech Solutions, the company I'd built from nothing. My assistant had placed it on top of the usual stack of corporate correspondence. I almost threw it away. Miss Isabel Wright, you are cordially invited to the Wright family Christmas celebration, black tie, December 24th, 7 p.m. Your presence is requested. I sat back in my leather chair. My presence was requested. Words I hadn't heard from my family in 5 years. Not at my college graduation, not at my wedding, not when Rosie was born, and certainly not during the divorce when I'd rebuilt my life from the ground up while they assumed I was drowning. "Mommy, what's that?" Rosie appeared in the doorway, still in her school uniform, backpack sliding off one shoulder. I looked at my daughter, 9 years old, with her father's dark curls and my stubborn chin. She'd never met her grandparents, never sat at their table, never heard her grandfather's booming laugh or felt her grandmother's cool appraisal. "It's an invitation," I said carefully, "to your grandparents' house for Christmas." Her eyes went wide. "Really? We're going?" That was the question, wasn't it? I should have said no, should have filed it in the trash where it belonged, next to every unreturned call, every "we're too busy" excuse, every birthday they'd forgotten. But Rosie was looking at me with such hope, such innocent belief that family meant something, that I heard myself say, "Yes, sweetheart, we're going." My name is Isabel Wright. I'm 30 years old. I'm the CEO of Right Tech Solutions, a software company that went public 2 years ago and made me one of the youngest female billionaires in the country. I own a penthouse in Boston, a beach house in the Hamptons, and through a carefully constructed series of shell companies and silent partnerships, I own the very estate where my parents live, the place they think they own outright. But my family doesn't know any of this. To them, I'm still the disappointment, the daughter who threw away her future by getting pregnant at 21, the one who dropped out of business school to marry a nobody musician, the black sheep who works, they think, as an administrative assistant somewhere in Boston, living in a cramped apartment, surviving on their occasional charity checks that I've never cashed. I'd kept it that way deliberately, built my empire in silence, used my married name, Wright Sterling, for all public business, attended galas wearing simple dresses, declined magazine profiles, turned down speaking engagements, all so I could watch from the shadows as my father's commercial real estate business slowly imploded, as my mother's social climbing led them deeper into debt, as my sister Victoria, the golden child, floated through life on their rapidly depleting resources. And I'd helped them, anonymously. When the bank threatened foreclosure 3 years ago, I'd bought their debt through Highland Capital Holdings, a shell company that existed solely to keep my parents afloat without them knowing their failure daughter was the one holding the rope. The drive from Boston to Westchester took 4 hours. I rented a modest sedan, left my Mercedes in the garage, dressed Rosie in a sweet velvet dress from Target, me in a thrifted cashmere sweater and old wool coat, playing the part, maintaining the fiction. "Tell me about Grandpa again," Rosie said from the back seat, watching the snow-dusted Connecticut landscape roll past. I hesitated. What could I say? That Charles Wright was a man who valued appearances over substance? That he'd told me at 19 I was wasting my potential by pursuing tech instead of marrying well? That the last words he'd spoken to me 5 years ago when I showed up at a family function 8 months pregnant and alone were, "You've made your choice, Isabel. Don't expect us to catch you when you fall." "He's traditional," I said finally. "He and Grandma care a lot about how things look, so we need to be polite, okay? Even if they say things that feel mean." Rosie's reflection frowned in the rearview mirror. Why would they be mean? Because they're very good at it, I thought. But what I said was, sometimes people don't know how to show love the right way. The right estate appeared through the trees like something from a Gothic novel. 3 stories of gray stone, manicured grounds buried under fresh snow, warmly lit windows promising the perfect family Christmas within. I'd spent my childhood in this house, knew every creaking floorboard, every hidden passage, every cold corner where I'd cried when I wasn't good enough. Now I owned it, every stone, every beam, every inch of land, and they had no idea. I parked in the circular driveway behind a Bentley I didn't recognize and my sister's white Range Rover. My old Jeep, I'd kept it as a reminder, looked pitiful next to them. Perfect. Rosie grabbed my hand as we approached the front door. She was nervous. I could feel her small fingers trembling in mine. "It's going to be okay," I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I was comforting her or myself. My mother answered the door. Margaret Wright, 62 years old, impeccably dressed in Chanel, her silver hair styled to perfection, diamonds at her throat. She looked at me the way you might look at a stray dog that wandered onto your porch, a mixture of distaste and pity. "Isabel," not a greeting, an acknowledgement. "You came? You invited me." Her eyes dropped to Rosie. Something flickered across her face. Surprise? Recognition? But it vanished quickly, replaced by the cool mask she wore so well. "And this must be—" She paused, as if she'd forgotten her own granddaughter's name. "Rosie," I said, my voice tighter than I intended. "Your granddaughter." "Yes, of course." Margaret stepped back. "Come in then. Dinner is in 20 minutes. You'll want to freshen up. The powder room is—" "I know where it is, Mother. I grew up here." The entry hall was exactly as I remembered. Marble floors, soaring ceilings, a crystal chandelier that cost more than most people's cars. Everything gleaming, everything perfect, everything designed to intimidate. Victoria appeared at the top of the grand staircase, my younger sister, 27 now, beautiful in the effortless way of people who've never struggled. She was wearing a scarlet dress that probably cost $5,000, her engagement ring catching the light, a massive diamond that seemed to pull all the warmth from the room into its cold brilliance. "Well, well," she said, descending like a queen granting an audience. "The prodigal sister returns. I honestly thought you'd chicken out." "Victoria." I kept my voice neutral. Rosie's hand tightened in mine. My sister's eyes swept over me, taking in my thrift store sweater, my worn boots, my daughter's Target dress. Her smile was sharp. "Still shopping at Goodwill, I see. How resourceful of you." "Some of us work for our money." "Oh, Izzy," she laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Is that what you call typing memos for that dreadful little insurance company? Work?" I said nothing. Let her think whatever she wanted. The truth would reveal itself soon enough. My father emerged from his study, a tumbler of scotch already in his hand, though it wasn't even 7 o'clock. Charles Wright, 65, still handsome in that weathered way, still carrying himself like a man who owned the world, despite the fact that his business was hemorrhaging money and the only thing keeping the estate out of foreclosure was my silent intervention. "Isabel," he said my name like an accusation, "you're late." We were 15 minutes early. "Good to see you too, Dad." He ignored me, focusing instead on Rosie. "So this is the child." The child, not his granddaughter, not Rosie, the evidence of my failure. "Her name is Rosie. She's 9. She's smart, funny, kind, and she's been excited to meet you all week." My father grunted, taking a long drink. "Dinner is at 7:30. Margaret, show them where they're sitting." The dining room was magnificent, a table that could seat 20, set tonight for 7. Candles, fresh flowers, china so delicate you could see light through it, Christmas decorations that belonged in a magazine spread. Everything perfect, everything cold. My mother directed me to a seat,
at the far end of the table, next to what appeared to be a children's folding table that had been set up in the corner. A card with Rosie's name sat at the small plastic table. I stared at it. "You want my daughter to eat alone at a kid's table?"
"We show up." Victoria's voice was shrill now. "We're here, aren't we? We invited you to humiliate me." I gestured to the folding table still set up in the corner. "To put my daughter in the corner like something to be hidden, to remind me I'm not good enough to sit at your table." Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. Her face was flushed, whether from wine or rage I couldn't tell. "You know what? I'm glad we're finally being honest. Do you want to know why we invited you tonight, Izzy? Do you really want to know?" "Victoria!" My mother's voice carried a warning. But my sister was past caring. The champagne had loosened her tongue, or maybe it was seeing Julian, her fiancé's business partner, her ticket into the tech elite, standing beside me instead of her. "We invited you because I felt sorry for you." She turned to the table, playing to her audience. "My poor, pathetic sister who got knocked up by some loser musician and had to raise a kid alone in whatever rat-infested apartment she could afford. I thought, it's Christmas, we should show some charity." Andrew reached for her arm. "Victoria, maybe we should—" She shook him off. "No, she wants honesty. Let's be honest. We were going to announce my engagement tonight. Andrew proposed last month at his family's estate in the Hamptons." She held up her ring, the massive diamond catching the candlelight. 3 carats, flawless, worth more than everything Izzy owns." I said nothing, just watched my sister unravel. "And then Father suggested we invite you. He said it would be good for our image. The successful Wright daughter showing kindness to her less fortunate sister. Perfect PR for Andrew's family. They're very concerned with philanthropy, you know, helping the poor." "That's enough." My father's voice was quiet but firm. "Is it?" Victoria rounded on him. "You're the one who wanted her here. You're the one who said we needed to, what was it, manage the family narrative before Andrew's parents started asking questions about why we never mention our other daughter." The mask had finally cracked, and what spilled out was worse than I had imagined. "So yes, Izzy, we invited you as a charity case, as proof that we're good people who take care of our less fortunate relatives, and you were supposed to play along, smile gratefully, let us feel magnanimous, not walk in here claiming you're some tech billionaire." "I didn't claim anything," I said softly. "The truth, that's all." "The truth," Victoria laughed, a harsh sound. "You want the truth? Fine. Even if you are rich, and I still don't believe it, you'll always be the sister who got knocked up out of wedlock, the dropout, the disappointment. Money can't change that." Rosie's hand tightened in mine. I glanced down and saw tears streaming silently down her face. She was trying so hard to be brave, to be quiet like my father had demanded, but 9-year-olds aren't built to withstand this kind of cruelty. And something inside me snapped. "Right," I said, standing. "Money can't change the past, can't change the fact that I got pregnant at 21, or that David left, or that I had to drop out of Harvard to support myself and my daughter." I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone, scrolling to a specific photo. I placed it on the table in front of Victoria. "This is a screenshot of my portfolio. Current net worth $3.8 billion. Wright Tech Solutions went public 18 months ago. Opening day stock price $47. Current price $212. I own 42% of the company." Victoria stared at the screen, her face going pale. "And this," I scrolled to another image, "is Highland Capital Holdings, the company that bought your father's debts 3 years ago, the company that's been paying the property taxes on this estate, the company that owns the mortgage on Wright Commercial Properties." My father grabbed the phone, his hands shaking. "That's impossible. Highland Capital they're an investment firm. They have dozens of holdings. They're not—" "A shell company I created specifically to keep you afloat without you knowing it was me.
I've been subsidiating your lifestyle for years, Dad. Every time one of your properties went into foreclosure, Highland Capital bought it back and leased it to you below market rates. Every time you couldn't make payroll, a mysterious investor would inject capital. Every time... You're lying. But his voice cracked on the words. Call my attorney, Edward Blake, Blake and Associates, Manhattan. He has all the documentation. Or call Highland Capital's registered agent, or pull the public filings. It's all there, legal, documented, ironclad. The silence that followed was only broken by Rosie's quiet sobbing. My mother finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Why would you do that? Help us, I mean, after everything. Because I'm not like you. I looked around the table, at the faces staring at me in varying degrees of shock and disbelief. Because when the people I love are drowning, I throw them a rope, even when they don't deserve it, even when they wouldn't do the same for me. Victoria's face twisted into something ugly. How noble of you, playing God with our lives while you...
We show up. Victoria's voice was shrill now. We're here, aren't we? We invited you. To humiliate me. I gestured to the folding table still set up in the corner. To put my daughter in the corner like something to be hidden. To remind me I'm not good enough to sit at your table. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. Her face was flushed, whether from wine or rage I couldn't tell. You know what? I'm glad we're finally being honest. Do you want to know why we invited you tonight, Izzy? Do you really want to know? Victoria! My mother's voice carried a warning. But my sister was past caring. The champagne had loosened her tongue, or maybe it was seeing Julian, her fiancé's business partner, her ticket into the tech elite, standing beside me instead of her. We invited you because I felt sorry for you. She turned to the table, playing to her audience. My poor, pathetic sister who got knocked up by some loser musician and had to raise a kid alone in whatever rat-infested apartment she could afford. I thought, it's Christmas. We should show some charity. Andrew reached for her arm. Victoria, maybe we should... She shook him off. No, she wants honesty. Let's be honest. We were going to announce my engagement tonight. Andrew proposed last month at his family's estate in the Hamptons. She held up her ring, the massive diamond catching the candlelight. 3 carats, flawless, worth more than everything Izzy owns. I said nothing, just watched my sister unravel. And then Father suggested we invite you. He said it would be good for our image, the successful Wright daughter showing kindness to her less fortunate sister. Perfect PR for Andrew's family. They're very concerned with philanthropy, you know, helping the poor. That's enough. My father's voice was quiet but firm. Is it? Victoria rounded on him. You're the one who wanted her here. You're the one who said we needed to, what was it, manage the family narrative before Andrew's parents started asking questions about why we never mention our other daughter. The mask had finally cracked, and what spilled out was worse than I had imagined. So yes, Izzy, we invited you as a charity case, as proof that we're good people who take care of our less fortunate relatives, and you were supposed to play along, smile gratefully, let us feel magnanimous, not walk in here claiming you're some tech billionaire. I didn't claim anything, I said softly. The truth, that's all. The truth, Victoria laughed, a harsh sound. You want the truth? Fine. Even if you are rich, and I still don't believe it, you'll always be the sister who got knocked up out of wedlock, the dropout, the disappointment. Money can't change that. Rosie's hand tightened in mine. I glanced down and saw tears streaming silently down her face. She was trying so hard to be brave, to be quiet like my father had demanded, but 9-year-olds aren't built to withstand this kind of cruelty. And something inside me snapped. Right, I said, standing. Money can't change the past, can't change the fact that I got pregnant at 21, or that David left, or that I had to drop out of Harvard to support myself and my daughter.
I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone, scrolling to a specific photo. I placed it on the table in front of Victoria. This is a screenshot of my portfolio. Current net worth $3.8 billion. Right Tech Solutions went public 18 months ago. Opening day stock price $47. Current price $212. I own 42% of the company. Victoria stared at the screen, her face going pale. And this, I scrolled to another image, is Highland Capital Holdings, the company that bought your father's debts 3 years ago, the company that's been paying the property taxes on this estate, the company that owns the mortgage on Right Commercial Properties. My father grabbed the phone, his hands shaking. That's impossible. Highland Capital they're an investment firm. They have dozens of holdings. They're not a shell company I created specifically to keep you afloat without you knowing it was me. I've been subsidiating your lifestyle for years, Dad. Every time one of your properties went into foreclosure, Highland Capital bought it back and leased it to you below market rates. Every time you couldn't make payroll, a mysterious investor would inject capital. Every time... You're lying. But his voice cracked on the words. Call my attorney. Edward Blake, Blake and Associates, Manhattan. He has all the documentation. Or call Highland Capital's registered agent, or pull the public filings. It's all there, legal, documented, ironclad. The silence that followed was only broken by Rosie's quiet sobbing. My mother finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Why would you do that? Help us, I mean, after everything. Because I'm not like you. I looked around the table, at the faces staring at me in varying degrees of shock and disbelief. Because when the people I love are drowning, I throw them a rope, even when they don't deserve it, even when they wouldn't do the same for me. Victoria's face twisted into something ugly. How noble of you, playing God with our lives while you...
While I what? While I built a company? While I raised my daughter? While I survived everything you all said I couldn't? My voice rose despite my best efforts to stay calm. I gave you everything. I saved this house. I saved Dad's business. I kept you in Chanel and Bentleys and Christmas dinners with hand-carved ice sculptures. We didn't ask for your help, my father said. No, you asked for nothing. You demanded nothing. You gave nothing. I felt my composure cracking, all the years of silence and patience finally breaking through. Do you know what I wanted for Christmas, Dad? Do you know what I've wanted for 9 years? He said nothing. I wanted you to meet your granddaughter. I wanted you to ask about her, to care that she exists, to look at her and see something other than evidence of my failure. I picked up Rosie's coat. But you can't even do that, can you? You can't see past your own pride long enough to notice there's a child in the room who just wanted to meet her grandfather. Isabel, my mother started. No, I'm done. I helped Rosie into her coat, my hands shaking. I came here tonight with a gift, an actual gift, not some obligation or charity. I was going to give you the house, sign over the deed, clear the debts, walk away clean, let you have your perfect life without me in it. I pulled an envelope from my purse and dropped it on the table. My father opened it with trembling hands. Inside was the deed to the Wright estate, already prepared, just missing my signature. I was going to do it after dinner, I said quietly. After Rosie got to have one Christmas with her grandparents, after I proved to myself that I'd done everything I could to make this family work. My father stared at the document. Isabel, if you're offering this, then perhaps we can... I was offering it, past tense. I took the deed back, folded it carefully, and returned it to my purse. I was going to do it after dinner, after Rosie got to have one Christmas with her grandparents, after I proved to myself that I'd done everything I could to make this family work. My father stared at the document. Isabel, if you're offering this, then perhaps we can... I was offering it, past tense. I took the deed back, folded it carefully, and returned it to my purse. But you made your choice. You told me exactly what you think of me, what you think of my daughter.
and I believe you." "You're being dramatic," Victoria said, but her voice lacked conviction now. She'd seen the numbers. She knew I was telling the truth. "Am I? Let me ask you something, Victoria. When you were planning this dinner, when you were deciding whether to invite me, did you ever, even once, think about Rosie? Did you wonder if maybe a 9-year-old girl deserved to know her family, or was she just another inconvenient detail in your perfect narrative?" My sister's silence was answer enough. I picked up Rosie, who buried her face in my shoulder, still crying. "I'm leaving now, and I want to be very clear about something. When I walk out that door, I'm not coming back. Not for holidays, not for birthdays, not for funerals. This is the last time you'll see me, the last time you'll see your granddaughter." "Isabel, wait!" My mother stood, and for a moment, just a moment, I thought I saw actual emotion flicker across her face. "You can't just wear your family." "No," I said softly. "Family shows up. Family cares. Family doesn't put children at folding tables to hide them from important guests." I shifted Rosie's weight in my arms. "Your DNA. That's all you've ever been." My father's face had gone from red to purple. He stood, his chair falling backward with a crash. "Fine, then go, leave, but don't you dare take that holier-than-thou attitude with you. You were the one who lied about who you were. You were the one playing games. You don't get to act wounded when what? When I finally fight back?" I met his eyes. "You're right, I did lie. By omission. I let you believe I was struggling because I wanted to see if you'd love me anyway, if the daughter mattered more than the dollar signs. And we didn't pass your little test?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. "How disappointing for you." "Yes, it is." I turned toward the door. "If you walk out now," my father called after me, his voice suddenly desperate, "I'll contest the Highland Capital holdings. I'll sue. You'll lose." I didn't turn around. "Edward has been documenting everything for 3 years. Every payment is legitimate, every contract ironclad. You'll spend whatever you have left on legal fees and end up with nothing." "Then what do you want from us?" Victoria's voice was shrill now, panicked. "What's the point of all this if you're just going to leave anyway?" I paused at the dining room entrance. Outside, through the windows, I could see snow falling heavier now, blanketing the world in white. "I wanted you to see me," I said quietly. "I wanted you to know that the daughter you threw away became everything you said she couldn't be, that the granddaughter you ignored is kind and smart and deserves better than you." "Isabel, please," my mother's voice cracked. "Can't we, if we apologize, if we try to—" "It's too late for that, Mother. You don't get to apologize for 9 years of silence. You don't get to try when it's finally convenient for you." I walked toward the front door, Rosie still clinging to me, her tears soaking through my sweater. "Fine," my father roared behind me. "Leave, leave and never return. You were always too difficult, too demanding, too—" "Charles, shut up." Julian's voice cut through my father's tirade. I turned, surprised. My COO was standing now, his face hard. "Just shut up." "Excuse me?" My father rounded on him. "Who do you think you're talking to?" "A man who's about to lose everything." Julian looked at me, then at Victoria. "I'm sorry, Victoria. This isn't going to work. We can't." He pulled a small box from his pocket and placed it on the table. An engagement ring. "Andrew, I think you should know that your fiancée has been seeing me for the past 6 months. I thought she was single. It doesn't matter what I thought. What matters is that Isabel is the best person I've ever worked with, and I won't stand here and watch her family tear her apart." Victoria's face went white. "Julian, that's not—" "That is." He turned to Andrew, whose face had gone carefully blank. "Andrew, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know. She told me you two had broken up. The engagement was off." Andrew Collins stood slowly, his movements controlled, dangerous. "Is this true, Victoria?" "It's lying. He's just saying that because he works for Isabel and—" "I have texts, emails, hotel receipts, everything." He looked at me. "I'm sorry, boss. I should have told you. I didn't know the connection until tonight. Didn't know she was your sister."
The room exploded.
Victoria screaming at Julian, at Andrew, at me. Andrew's parents standing in shock. My mother trying to calm everyone down. My father demanding answers, explanations, threatening lawsuits and ruin and everything his impotent rage could summon. And in the middle of it all, I stood holding my daughter, watching my family implode, and felt absolutely nothing. I walked to the front door, opened it. The cold December air rushed in, clean and sharp and real. "Isabel," my father's voice stopped me one last time. "If you leave now, if you go through with this, I will make sure everyone knows what you did. I'll tell everyone you manipulated us, that you destroyed this family, that you—" "Tell them," I said quietly, turning to look at him one last time. "Tell everyone. I don't care anymore." "The hell you don't. You built your whole empire on secrecy, on hiding who you really are. You think I can't destroy that? You think I can't make them see you're nothing but a vindictive child playing dress-up as a CEO?" I smiled. It felt strange on my face. Liberating. "You're right about one thing, Dad. I did build my empire on secrecy, but not because I was ashamed, because I was protecting you." I pulled out my phone again, scrolled to a different folder. Every failed deal, every bribe you paid to keep properties you couldn't afford, every falsified financial statement you submitted to banks, every corner you cut, every law you bent, every person you screwed over to maintain your image. His face went gray. I have it all, documented, time-stamped, backed up in 3 different locations. I pocketed my phone. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to let me walk out of here. You're not going to sue. You're not going to call reporters. You're not going to do anything except shut up and pray I stay quiet about what I know." "You're bluffing." "Am I? Want to test that theory? Want to see what happens when the Southern District of New York gets an anonymous tip about your business practices? When the IRS receives documentation about your offshore accounts? When your clients find out their deposits are funding your lifestyle while their properties sit in development hell?" That's what I thought. I adjusted Rosie in my arms. She'd stopped crying now, just watching everything with wide, solemn eyes that children have when they realize the world isn't fair. "Mommy," said she as I started the engine, "are we really never coming back?" "No, baby, we're not." "Good." She pulled her stuffed rabbit closer. "They weren't very nice." "No," I agreed. "They weren't." I pulled out of the driveway, watching the Wright estate shrink in my rearview mirror. The snow was falling harder now, already covering our tire tracks, erasing the evidence that we had ever been there at all. My phone buzzed. Julian. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. Do you want me to come to Boston?" I typed back. "It's fine. Take a few days. We'll talk after Christmas." Another text, this one from Edward Blake, my attorney. He must have been monitoring the situation somehow, probably had someone nearby, just in case. "Ready when you are." I pulled over at a rest stop 2 miles from the estate. Rosie was asleep now, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster. I stepped out of the car, into the falling snow, and called Edward. "Tell me you got it all," I said when he answered. "Every word. The security system you had us install last month has excellent audio quality." He paused. "I'm sorry it went this way, Isabel." "Don't be. I needed to know, needed to try one last time." I looked back toward where the estate sat, invisible now through the snow and darkness. "Execute Protocol Omega." "Are you sure? Once we start this, there is no—" "I'm sure." My voice was steady, calm. "File the foreclosure paperwork tonight, Christmas Eve. They'll get the notices on December 26th. Eviction proceedings to begin January 2nd. I want them out by New Year's." "And Wright Commercial Properties?" "Liquidate it. Sell the assets. Use the proceeds to pay back his clients with interest. Whatever's left goes to charity." "That's going to bankrupt him." "I know.
I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just a cold, clean certainty. He made his choice, Edward. He told me to leave and never return. So I'm returning everything he gave me. Every lesson, every piece of advice, every example of how not to be a parent. And the mother? The sister? They're adults. They can figure it out. Margaret has her social connections. Victoria has, well, she had Andrew, but that's done now. They'll survive. And if they try to fight it, let them. But Edward, I smiled into the darkness. Make sure they know that every legal fee they pay, every court appearance they make, every penny they spend trying to fight me, it all comes from their rapidly diminishing resources. Make sure they understand that I can afford to fight forever. They can't.
Understood. And the documentation about his business practices? Hold it in reserve. If they stay quiet, it stays sealed. If they try to smear me publicly, we release everything. Mutually assured destruction. Something like that. I took a breath, watching the snow accumulate on the car's hood. One more thing. Set up a trust fund for Rosie. 20 million. She can access it at 18, but only for education or starting a business. Nothing else. That's generous. That's what my family should have done for me. I got back in the car, careful not to wake Rosie. They should have believed in me, supported me, given me a chance to prove what I could do. Instead, they wrote me off. You proved them wrong. I proved them irrelevant. I started the engine. File the papers, Edward, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Isabel. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. I hung up and pulled back onto the road. Boston was 4 hours away. 4 hours of driving through the snow, through the darkness, away from the past and toward whatever came next. My phone buzzed again, and again, and again. Victoria, you can't do this. Victoria, call off your lawyers. Victoria, Andrew won't even look at me. Victoria, this is all your fault. My mother, please, Isabel, let's talk about this. My father, you vindictive bitch, I'll destroy you. I blocked all 3 numbers without reading the rest. 3 hours into the drive, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Miss Wright? A woman's voice, professional, concerned. This is Sarah Martinez from the Westchester County Sheriff's Office. Your father listed you as his emergency contact. My blood went cold. What happened? He's at County General, possible heart attack. He collapsed about 20 minutes ago. They're stabilizing him now, but the doctors want family present in case... I'm not coming, I heard myself say. Silence on the other end. Ma'am, he's your father. If he doesn't make it... He told me to leave and never return. Those were his exact words. My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking on the wheel. I'm just following his instructions. Miss Wright, I understand families have disagreements, but this is life and death. If you don't come now, you might never get another chance to... To what? Say goodbye to a man who never said hello to his granddaughter? To make peace with someone who only wanted me around when I could be useful? I pulled over again, my vision blurring. Tell the doctors to do everything they can. Send the bills to Edward Blake at Blake & Associates. He'll handle it, but I'm not coming. I hung up, sat there in my car on the side of a dark highway, snow falling all around me, and realized what I'd just done. My father might be dying, and I wasn't going back. The old Isabel, the one who'd spent 5 years secretly paying his bills, the one who'd come tonight hoping for reconciliation, she would have turned the car around, would have raced back to the hospital, would have held his hand and forgiven him, and let him take another piece of her heart to the grave. But that Isabel died tonight in the Wright Estate dining room. This Isabel, the one who'd built an empire, who'd survived alone, who'd just spent 3 hours being reminded exactly what her family thought of her, this Isabel kept driving. My phone buzzed with a text from an unlisted number. He's stable, out of immediate danger. Doctor says it was a panic attack, not a heart attack, probably from stress. Sarah Martinez. I should have felt relief, should have felt something.
Instead, I just felt tired. Rosie stirred in the back seat. "Mommy, where are we?" "Almost home, baby." "Did Grandpa die?" I met her eyes in the rearview mirror, those innocent eyes that had seen too much ugliness tonight. "No, sweetheart, he's okay." "Oh." She was quiet for a moment. "Are you sad?" Was I sad? I didn't know what I felt. Empty, maybe. Lighter, like I'd been carrying something heavy for years and finally put it down.
"No," I said finally. "I'm not sad." "Me neither." She hugged her rabbit. "Can we have hot chocolate when we get home?" "Yeah, baby, we can have hot chocolate." We drove the rest of the way in silence, through the snow, through the dark, toward the warm lights of Boston and the life I'd built without them. When we finally pulled into the underground garage of my building, my phone buzzed one last time. "Edward, papers filed. Foreclosure notices will be delivered December 26th at 9 a.m. Eviction scheduled for January 2nd. Everything is in motion. Edward, there's still time to stop this if you want to." I looked at the message for a long time, thought about my father in the hospital, panic attack brought on by stress, thought about my mother, probably pacing the halls right now, wondering how it all went so wrong. Thought about Victoria, her engagement shattered, her perfect life crumbling. I thought about Rosie's face when they'd pointed her toward that folding table, the tears streaming down her cheeks, the small voice asking why they were mean. I typed back, "Don't stop anything. Let it proceed exactly as planned. Edward, understood. See you in Boston." I pocketed my phone and carried Rosie upstairs. She woke up enough to change into her pajamas and brush her teeth, then climbed into my bed instead of her own. "Can I sleep with you tonight?" she asked. "Of course." She curled up against me, small and warm and mine. "Mommy, I don't think I want grandparents anymore." "That's okay, baby. We have each other." "And Uncle Julian." I smiled. "And Uncle Julian. And Edward, even though he's boring." "Edward's not boring. He's just very serious." "That's boring." She yawned. "Mommy?" "Yeah?" "I love you." "I love you too, sweetheart. More than anything in the world." She fell asleep in minutes, her breathing deep and even. I lay there holding her, staring at the ceiling, replaying the night over and over. Leave and never return. My father's words, my choice to honor them. The clock on my nightstand read 11:47 p.m. In 13 minutes, it would be Christmas Day. In 37 hours, my family would receive the foreclosure notices. In 9 days, they'd be evicted from the only home they'd ever known, and I would be free. My phone buzzed one more time. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. "Edward, Victoria just called me, crying, begging me to convince you to stop the foreclosure. She says your father's in the hospital. She says they're sorry, that they'll do anything, that if you just give them another chance. What do you want me to tell her?" I stared at the message for a long time. They were sorry, now, when it was too late, when the consequences were real. Not when Rosie was crying, not when I was being humiliated, not during any of the years I'd spent hoping they'd call, hoping they'd care. Only now, when they were losing something. I typed back, "Tell her she should have thought of that before she put my daughter at a children's table. Tell her she hopes she'll enjoy sleeping in her perfectly pressed Chanel suits, because soon that's all she'll have left. Edward, harsh. Me, honest. Edward, fair enough. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Me, for what? Edward, for finally putting yourself first, for showing them they can't treat you like that, for being the parent Rosie deserves instead of the daughter they wanted." I felt something crack open in my chest, all the emotions I'd been holding back, rage, grief, relief, guilt, came flooding through. Me, thank you.
Julian. Get some sleep, boss. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. He had no idea. I set my phone to silent and closed my eyes. In 9 days, the Wright estate would be emptied, the family would be scattered, the empire my father had built through debt and deception would crumble, and I would still be standing, with my daughter in my arms, with my company thriving, with my life completely, finally, devastatingly my own. But as I drifted toward sleep, I couldn't shake one last thought. What if my father had actually died tonight? What if that heart attack had been real? What if the last words we'd ever spoken to each other were, "Leave and never return"? Would I feel different? Would I regret the foreclosure, the eviction, the calculated destruction of everything they'd built on borrowed money and my silent intervention? I didn't know, and that terrified me more than anything that happened tonight.
Because the old Isabel would have known, would have felt guilt, remorse, would have turned the car around. This new Isabel, the one who just burned down her family in a single Christmas dinner, she felt nothing. Or maybe she felt everything and had just learned to bury it deep enough that it couldn't touch her anymore. My phone screen lit up the dark bedroom one final time. Unknown number. This is Margaret, your mother. Please, Isabel, your father is asking for you. He wants to apologize. He wants to make this right. Please come back. Please give us one more chance. We know we don't deserve it. We know we failed you. But Isabel, we're your family. That has to mean something, doesn't it? Please, before it's too late. I stared at the message until the screen went dark again. Before it's too late. But when was too late? Was it 5 years ago when I showed up pregnant and alone? Was it 9 years ago when they wrote me off as a disappointment? Was it tonight when they humiliated my daughter? Or was it right now, in this moment, when I had the power to show mercy and chose revenge instead? The clock hit midnight. Christmas Day. A day for miracles, for forgiveness, for peace on earth and goodwill toward men. I picked up my phone, typed a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. My finger hovered over the screen, shaking. What kind of person was I becoming? What kind of person had I already become? And then Rosie stirred in her sleep, whimpering. A bad dream, probably. Too much stress, too much ugliness for one small child to process. I pulled her closer, smoothed her hair, whispered that everything was okay, that she was safe, that nobody would hurt her ever again. And I made my choice. I typed one final message to my mother. 3 words. Then I turned off my phone completely, pulled my daughter close, and tried not to think about whether I'd just saved myself or destroyed the last chance I'd ever have at something I used to call family. Outside, snow continued to fall on Boston, and somewhere in Westchester, my family was probably gathered in a hospital waiting room, staring at their phones, waiting for a response that would tell them whether they still had a home, whether they still had a daughter, whether there was any way back from the things we'd said, the things we'd done, the wounds we'd inflicted on each other until there was nothing left but blood and money and the cold, hard truth that some families are born and some families are chosen, and mine was sleeping in my arms. The 3 words I'd sent to my mother glowed in my memory. It's too late.